What's going on, everybody? This is Mortym bringing you Stage 5 of the Maelstrom Arena as the Venom Claw, the build I made for the Dragon Knight because of all the changes that they did to it for the Dark Brotherhood patch. Now, I will tell you that of the 5 stages I've gotten through so far, this one was awful. It was just a terrible experience. It took forever. I died, without exaggerating, probably 60 times before I finally managed it. I wish that was an exaggerated number. It is not. Now, I would tell you 75% of those deaths were actually my own fault. Once you kind of learn some general mechanics, this becomes a lot easier. So, for round 1, it's nothing too special. There's a lot of ranged DPS. Do not stand in the water. It will kill you. Kill the troll that gets spawned, obviously, because he will break the ice and summon a Limited Oracle, some weird name. You can kill it. It's very difficult, though. You will save yourself a lot of trouble if you just kill the troll. You can interrupt its attack by just bashing it, and then it'll be stunned for a couple seconds. Other than that, you're just going to want to kind of spam reflective scales as much as you can. Now, the main problem I run into this is I run out of magicka from having to spam reflective scales so much that it gets challenging, because I'm out of magicka to cast something that in this round is incredibly important. Now for this round 1 mini boss, she's nothing special. Just kind of avoid her bigger attacks, put your dots up, and make sure you're killing the trolls as you fight her, and she shouldn't be a big deal. As long as you make sure to heal yourself and stuff, obviously, it's not really too much. When she shapes into her werewolf form, she does put up a lot of health. But because werewolves are weak to poison, she goes down pretty quickly because that's what half of our dots are. She actually kills herself on our dots, well, our dots kill her, rather, in the water there. So, for round 2, same thing as the first one as far as the start goes, except now there's ogres. Focus on these heart finders and either block the ogre's attacks or just make sure that you dodge roll away or something. The ogre hits like a truck, and you just want to try to mitigate as much of that as you possibly can. Now, when you pick up the defensive power-up, it's worth noting that you don't have to cast reflective scales like I do, like an idiot, because it'll just automatically reflect stuff back. Dawnbreaker of Smiting, once again great, because these guys spawn like 4 at a time a lot of times. So what you can do is you can just get them grouped up, hit Dawnbreaker of Smite, stun them all, apply your dots to each one, and then kind of block them while your dots murder them. As well as the dot from Dawnbreaker of Smiting. So the Ogre Elder, the mini-boss for round 2. This guy was actually annoying because he's ranged and he likes to sit in the water, which you can't really hang out in the water. You can run through it to another island, but much beyond that, and you're taking insane amounts of damage. And like I said, you can only cast Dragonfire Scales so many times before you start running out of magicka to do it with. So he can be a little challenging. The best I can tell you is, other than making sure the trolls obviously die, is go ahead and use Endless Hail, and then as you're running through to other islands, make sure to dot him up as you're chasing the trolls down, or if you can just kind of island hop and just hit him with some dots on the way there. That said, he doesn't do an insane amount of damage like a lot of other things in this area do, so it's not really a huge deal that it takes so long, because he's not really doing a lot of damage to you as a result. He does heal himself on occasion, but it's for a pretty minimal amount. I'm not even, like, it's almost wasted time on his part to do the animation. We grabbed the power up just to kind of finish this guy off. He was taking way too long at this point. So I walk out into the water, I dot him up with my ultimate, and he dies very fast because he doesn't have a lot of health. But like I said, you can't hang out in the water, so it can be a little challenging. So, round 3, until the last boss, this one always gives me a bit of trouble, and that's because of the Atronach. The best I can tell you is that, well, A, the Atronach hits ridiculously hard. So, it's also important because that Atronach needs to die before the last wave spawns, because it spawns another Atronach, and it will spawn even if that Atronach hasn't died, so you need to focus on it. So kill the melee things that spawn on his island as well, and then kill the troll if it's there, obviously. But other than that, just cast Reflective Scales and try to get the ranged guy to kill himself on that, while you focus on the Atronach and doing as much damage as you can. You'll probably have to pick up that healing power-up at some point just because of how much damage you got. But as long as you do it right, you should be able to kill the Atronach and, you know, survive. So, the Limiads, or however you pronounce that, they die super fast. The Ogre can be super annoying, just make sure to block. And this last wave here spawns another Atronach. Now, as you probably saw, those that first Atronach doesn't count towards the waves. So, if he's not down, then you'll have two Atronachs, and I can guarantee you, you're pretty much just dead. Because they both hit like a truck, and if they both hit you at the same time, it's pretty much your entire health pool. So, that said, try to catch the Atronach in his animations. When he does that big sweep there, it's a great chance to use Hidden Blade, use all of your dots up, because they'll put him down pretty fast. Because while he does hit insanely hard and he has more health than the normal guys, it's not so much health that it's a problem. It's just dealing with him and the other mobs that make it challenging. Now, round 4. This one is touch and go. Sometimes I've done it super easy, other times I've had a lot of trouble with it. I will tell you that I like to pick up that shield power-up immediately because the giants themselves aren't really that bad, but the giants combined with the ranged guys is incredibly annoying. So I like to just pick up that power-up immediately so the ranged guys start killing themselves while I can focus on putting the giants down. They take a lot of damage from my poison stuff. I'm not sure if they're weak to it or what, but they take a lot of damage from it, so I'm assuming they probably are. As the ads spawn, I would tell you, because the giants are so slow, I would just go ahead and get rid of these first round of ads as quickly as you can, because as long as you've got one of the giants down, the other guy doesn't do much, and he's not really a threat by himself. So a lot of people like to completely ignore the Auroral Guardians on this one. I don't know. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but personally I just like to put them down and give myself a little breathing room. So again, if you can group everything up and then use Dawnbreaker of Smiting, that's a fantastic way to go, because it does so much damage with all of our extra dot stuff, and the stun on top of that, allowing some of those dots to bleed them for a second. It's just going to do a lot. So, once you have it down to just Boar here, I believe that's his name, you can kind of ignore one. I would tell you that once there are 2 Auroral Guardians, I would try to keep it to at least 1. More than that, it's not so much that they're doing a lot of damage to you, it's just that it becomes hard to move around, and that little shockwave he just set out does a crap ton of damage if it hits you. And if I'm trying to dodge all these bears and that, for me personally, that's a very difficult proposition. That said, I'm sure some people can do it, so it's kind of your own discretion, really. Now, holy crap, this boss fight. Where to even start? It was awful, and I would tell you that most of the times I died, it was my own fault. So when she runs at you to start, bring her to the island next to the haste power-up. I cannot stress that enough. That needs to be the first item, the first island rather, that gets destroyed. Run to the other islands, destroy the rock troll if you have to, but make sure you bring her back to this one and get it destroyed first. And the reason for that being is the haste power-up of the power-ups is pretty much the most useless one. So if you destroy one of the other 2 islands first next to the other power-ups, those are basically lost, because if you run over there to get them, you're gonna die. The water is going to kill you long before you get that power-up. So, at 90% she spawns in the 2 ads you saw. Because of the troll, I did a terrible job of paying attention to them. But what you want to do is throw up Dragonfire Scales, try to get the ranged one down as quickly as possible, and then just kill the melee guy kind of while you circle around the big giant. Now when you see that huge red flash, that means she's about to destroy an island. And this was actually where I messed up, because like I told you, that's not the island you want her to destroy first. So I just went ahead and picked up the power-up from it and just kind of went about my way. So it's not impossible to do this if this isn't the first island you get destroyed or whatever, but I'm telling you, you will save yourself a lot of hassle. Now, when the Limniad Oracle, or the Oracle, or whatever, however you pronounce that, spawns, use Dragonfire Scales. She will do, I would tell you about half of her own life just hitting herself on Dragonfire Scales. Now, you will need to dot her to finish her off, but she's not that hard. What I find most challenging is dealing with the adds while circling her, because if that shatter hits you, and it does kind of a bit of a peripheral range there, if that shatter hits you, it hits for like 12k minimum, which is almost half of my total life pool. So I have to avoid it. So as you can see, I drag her back to the island I want her to destroy. At 60%, she spawns her second wave of adds. Same thing as before, except this one summons a wolf as well. Use Dawnbreaker of Smiting if you have to get them under control. But other than that, just use Dragonfire Scales to put down the ranged one. Pick up the defense thing if you have to. But she's getting close to 50% now, which is where she finally drops her second island down. So once you have the adds down, drag her to the island you want her to destroy, which is this one for me. And I would tell you for a ranged class that's not as important. I've seen plenty of ranged people do this super fast, but I have to hit her in melee range because the only thing I have other than just a standard attack with the bow is the dual Endless Hail. Now I will say when she goes to destroy an island, a good thing to do is go ahead and cast Endless Hail, because she will eat pretty much all of it while she does her animation. So that'll get you some extra damage on. Again, when she summons the Oracle, Dragonfire Scales, she'll take a ton of damage to herself. And I would prioritize killing her over finishing off the troll. As long as you keep interrupting the troll, he's not a huge threat because he's not hitting you. And because of that, it'll give you some time to kill that Oracle as long as you interrupt him. And then you can worry about the troll once it's dead. Other than that, put up more of your dots on the Matriarch Runa here. And kill the trolls as they spawn. At 30%, she spawns her last wave in. This is her last wave of actual adds. Now, this one is really annoying because there are actually two ranged DPS, and they both hit incredibly hard. It's not a ranged and a melee like the first two. It's both ranged. So use Dragonfire Scales. Try not to get stunned like an idiot like I did all the time. And get them down as quickly as you can. Dragonfire Scales will do a lot of the work. Can't stress that enough. Now, this part is important. Make sure that as you're doing this last bit of DPS that you watch how low you're getting her. Because at exactly 5%, she's going to destroy this last island. Now, the reason that's important is because you want to make sure that there's not going to be a troll up. Because do not run into the water when this last island gets destroyed. She has to be dead by the end of it. Because if she's not, you're going to be. You will not survive in the water. Don't run out to it trying to do it that way. You're not going to do it. It's really hard, but it can be done, as you saw. I hope you guys enjoyed the build and the video. If you did, please subscribe. Other than that, have a great day, guys.